Welcome to Back Porch Top Podcast. I'm your coach, Jason.
It's your co Danny.
Man, we got a full show for you today. We'll get into a little NCAA tournament, MLB, and a little NBA. But first, y'all know what to do. Go ahead and like, go ahead and subscribe, tell a few friends, let those friends tell other friends. We need the algorithm, and we need you to like, subscribe to the channel. Danny, right into the NCAA tournament, the men's side, and just a whole lot has happened. A few upsets, a few shockers, a few buzzer beaters. I really focused in on more so the game on Sunday. The game I really watched on Sunday was that of St. John's against Kansas. And the reason why I decided to watch that game, I really wanted to see the coaching, the Hall of Fame coaches really go at it. And it didn't disappoint. Now, to start off the game, both teams were broke.
That's an understatement.
But the energy was there. Defensive battle was there.
hmm
St. John's was speed out to a lead, and ultimately Kansas came back in the second half. Well, really towards the end of the game, went on a run and came back all to have St. John's to win the game on a layup. And so kudos to all the men's basketball head coaches who decides to wear a suit. It was good to see that. I mean, kudos to Rick Pitino
hmm
for wearing a suit, man. I mean, I can't remember last time I seen a coach with a suit on for men's basketball. So kudos to him for keeping up with the old school. But I just thought that this game, I really wanted to see what Peterson was going to do. He started the game with 2 3-pointers in a row, and thought he was going to have a good game. Come to find out, he's only shot 33% from the field, 5 for 15 from the field, and ultimately 8 for 10 from free throw line to score 21 points. I also wanted to see the storyline of Ejiofor, who started with Kansas, moved over and transferred over to St. John. He had a good game at 18 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. So he just went all in, man. But this was just a good game, good battle. That was one game of note. First round, man. I mean, Wisconsin gets bounced out in the first round against High Point. But kudos to High Point, man, for coming in and just being aggressive and going for it. That's what I think I like about the NCAA tournaments, man. Every team's going to go for it, right? High
Yep.
Point, never heard of High Point. Heard of them now. They advanced to the second round against Arkansas, but end up losing there. And I give the coach of High Point a lot of kudos and praise for instilling in his players just the mindset of them going for it. So got to give him a lot of praise there. Another upset victory was that of Texas beating BYU in the first round, 79-71. Texas then goes on to beat Gonzaga 74-68, an upset. But, I mean, come on, it's Texas, man. Texas
hmm
got a lot of money. The program, I mean, I can't even consider this to be upset, really, quite honestly,
Yep.
man. Um, but Texas advances to the Sweet 16 in the West bracket. Arizona against Arkansas. You'll have Texas against Purdue. Purdue Boilermakers advance, where they beat Miami, 79-69. And then out on the East bracket, you have Duke and St. John's, who's going to match up and play, and that's going to be a very intriguing game. And then you also have Michigan State against UConn. That's the game I really want to see. I really want to see that game, Danny.
hmm
Over in the South bracket, you had Florida getting bounced 73-72 against Iowa. They will not be repeating as national champions. And so you'll have Iowa-Nebraska Big Ten showdown. And then ultimately, Illinois and Houston, they're going to match up against each other. That is in again, the South bracket. And finally, the Midwest bracket, you have Michigan advancing, who will face off against Alabama. And then you have Tennessee advancing to battle Iowa State. That's going to be a good game. Tennessee upset Virginia. I'm going to lean towards Iowa State on that one, Danny. I'm just going to say it. I'm leaning towards Iowa State. We'll see what happens, but what say you about the NCAA tournament so far?
Well, Jason, I was curious how this would play out as far as would it be all chalk, like we talked prior to the tournament, and it's kind of following suit. Florida didn't play. They made some, I would say, coaching blunders at the end of that game against Iowa, where I just didn't understand why you were pressing and gave Iowa the opportunity to beat the press. And then the guy underneath, he had to make a decision. He stayed
Yep.
in the paint. And by the
Hmm.
time that happened, they kicked it to the right corner. For those of you who did not see it, and Iowa wins. And smart move, too, by the shooter because
Hmm.
he was actually inside the 3-point line when he caught the ball. And he got behind the
So
3-point line and went for the win.
was that a travel, Danny?
Not in this day and age, Jason. I
Uh,
can't, man. I've seen so many people walk from our generation. We would
yeah.
call that a travel.
Hmm.
Not this day and age, man. Some of these players taking like 5 steps. It looks like sometimes, man. But I digress on that point. So tough for Florida, man, because they had a good shot to keep moving. And if we want to look at the South bracket, you got Houston playing in Texas next weekend. So they have somewhat of a home court advantage, but that's going to be a tough game against Illinois. So Big Ten representing in the South region right now with 3 of the 4 teams remaining are Big Ten teams. That East bracket, Jason, Duke had a scare that first round against Siena. Siena ran out of gas because they had that game under control, but they only played five players until the foul out. So Duke prevailed there, and so now Duke plays St. John's. Can't wait to see that game. Like you mentioned, the UConn Michigan State game. Can't wait to see that one. And then on the West bracket, Arizona and Arkansas held serve. Arkansas had a scare against High Point. High Point took them to the end as well. And yeah, disappointing loss for Wisconsin, man. They're a 5-12 victim. That they had that game in hand. And talk about traveling. That layup at the end by the High Point dude, that was the first 2-point field goal of the year. That was 3 straight steps. There was no gather, none of all that stuff. So he straight walked, but they didn't call it, and that's on Wisconsin for losing the game.
Yeah.
And Texas starting in the first 4, man, that game against NC State, because they easily could have been out of the tournament in that game, because I was back and forth in that first 4 game, but they prevailed, and they're riding that momentum. So it should be an interesting matchup against Purdue. And last but not least, in the Midwest, Michigan, they're blowing out teams. Alabama, even though they had some, controversy coming into the tournament, which I thought would impact them with one of their players being arrested, they prevailed. So now they face Michigan, and then you got Iowa State, Tennessee. Iowa State has a key injury of note, so that may be the only thing that may impact them. And Tennessee is a big team, and a lot of these teams, Jason, if you look at this tournament, a lot of these teams have a lot of big dudes.
A lot of big dudes.
So it's
Yeah.
not guard heavy. It's
Hmm.
there's great guards playing, but there's a lot of big men. Like Tennessee overwhelmed Virginia yesterday.
Hmm. Hmm.
I know Virginia came back and made it a game, and they actually had the lead. But from a one shining moment perspective, I'll call out the Santa Clara Kentucky game where Santa Clara on Friday hit a 3, took the lead. Coaches calling timeout to gather the team. Refs miss it. Kentucky goes down, hits a half court shot, takes it to overtime, ends up winning the game. So tough break for Santa Clara, but so far it's been pretty much chalk, and now we get some great matchups. But it does look the mid majors are not in this, Sweet 16. So
Hmm.
is this starting to turn?
Hmm.
Where there's usually some representation, but there's going to have to be some changes made if they want to have a seat at the table in this tournament.
And now, Danny, on to a little NBA basketball, and where we're coming up to the end of the regular season, and I believe that San Antonio is going to be really a team to deal with. Gone are the days of a team having to go through and go through the process. This reminds me of Golden State, and where everybody thought it was time for the Clippers to take that next step.
Hmm.
They struggled. They, battled through the issues. They struggled, and then they got good, and then ultimately started to progress, and then it was their turn. There was quote unquote their turn.
Hmm.
And the Golden State came in and took that turn. I think Spurs have come in and have taken the turns of many teams. And I would say even taking the turns of Minnesota, say for instance.
Hmm.
Minnesota to me is that team that's supposed to take that next step in and get to the finals. Not the way San Antonio playing. I don't think that's gonna happen. So better watch it. But to say the least, man, I think the big news is really Giannis. The Milwaukee Bucks organization are requesting Giannis to not return for the season, for him to sit out the rest of the way, especially since the team is not in contention to make the playoffs. They don't want him to get injured permanently. Want him for a trade asset potentially this summer. So we'll see. But I tell you, it's hard being a Bucks fan. Gone are the days of us battling in the playoffs competitively and getting to the conference championship and ultimately the finals. Gone are those days. Those are some distant memories. And you know what? I'm actually gonna watch a few YouTube clips of the Bucks playing in the finals, man. What say you, Danny, about the NBA?
Well, Jason, we have I think the most games that someone may have left are 12 until the end of the season. So they're at that 70 game mark. If you look at it, man, the playoffs are pretty much set from a 1 through 10 perspective with the play-in. As far as between 10 and 11, there's an 8 game difference between the Bucks and the Hornets. So I don't see the Bucks catching the Hornets. And then the Western Conference, the Pelicans are trailing the Warriors by 8 games. So now it's a matter of seeding, playing for seeding more in the Eastern Conference than the Western Conference, where the Raptors are 39 and 31 and the Hornets are 37 and 34. So there's a 2.5 game difference between the 5 spot and the 10 spot. So now teams are going to try to hunker down and try to stay out of that play-in tournament. I mean, the play-in games. So if they can stay in that 6 seed and above, they're good to go and avoid the extra games. So now, Jason, that's what I'll be watching for is how do these teams position themselves for the playoffs, and then the teams that are no longer in contention, what are they doing as far as who they're playing? And like you mentioned, the Bucks. I think Giannis should sit out, man. There's no need to play, even if he's trying to prove he's healthy or whatever the case may be. Teams are still going to take a chance on him, but if he has something happen, like you mentioned, permanently, that that really hurts the Bucks from a negotiation perspective. So I agree, man. Just sit down, man. No one's begging for you to come back. I appreciate what he's trying to do, unless there's some type of ulterior motive here. Uh, trying to go against the governors and the ownership group. But for his sake, he should just sit down, man. And if it is his last game as a Buck, uh, we'll see. We'll see in the off season. But yeah, now Jason, man, now it's for all these other games. Now it's trying to see who's going to be where and what these matchups look like, because there are some intriguing matchups setting up if we hold serve, especially in the Western Conference.
And now, Danny, just as the pollen is upon us, baseball is upon us. And let me just say, I'm real curious about these Milwaukee Brewers. And looking at the record in spring training, the Brewers are 12 and 16. They're under 500, and it's spring training. But you do want to play somewhat well. You do want to, be halfway decent. And Brewers aren't that. And I'm just real curious as to how this is going to play out. These trades that should not have happened, in my opinion. Well, a lot of my questions are going to be answered And reason for that is because come what is it, Thursday,
Mm-hmm.
the Brewers are going to face the White Sox. The
Yep.
Brewers will face the White Sox. The Cubs are facing the Nationals. White Sox weren't good at all last year. I don't know what I don't know what they're going to be like this year, Danny. The White Sox, but you best believe we better win this series because if there's any chance for us to have a halfway decent season,
Mm-hmm.
it starts with the White Sox. And keep in mind, the White Sox were at 500 in spring training, 15-15. So they were ahead of us. We'll see what happens, man. I mean, the Dodgers were 20 wins, 8 losses, 1 tie. The Giants 19-9, 1 tie. I mean, Rangers 16-12, and it goes on from there. So, I mean, they were all relatively in the same area, if you will. But come on, Brewers. What say you, Danny?
Well, Jason, with opening day upon us, the Brewers have still not officially named their starter. It sounds like it will be Mizorowski, with Brandon Woodruff more likely not being able to start opening day. But like I said, that's still TBD. But it's leaning towards Mizorowski is the leading pitcher for opening day against Shane Smith from the White Sox, who is not bad. The White Sox are not great, and we'll see. You never know. It's a new year, right? And you never know. Teams can come together and do some things. But right now, being at home, with your opening day, opening series, you definitely have to win this series right off the bat, get some good mojo. And then you kind of see how the rotation is and how long, if at all, is Woodruff out. And maybe he just slides back into the rotation where he picks up either, Saturday or Sunday. But right now, that's still TBD. And like you mentioned, the Cubs, they're starting with the Nationals. Pirates are starting with the Mets. Cincinnati has the Red Sox. And the Cardinals start with Tampa Bay. It looks like from an odds perspective, the Brewers are slated for second, with the Cubs having the advantage from a betting perspective. But, they got to do it on the field. So I'm curious to see how this goes, as is everyone else, with the changes in the offseason, with the Durbin trade, the Freddie trade. How do they respond? And, are there some people not yet on the team that they bring up from the minor leagues that have an impact? So a lot of open questions. I agree with you, Jason. So we'll see how it goes. Just waiting for it to start.
Thank you for joining us at Back Porch Talk Podcast. You can also join us on Twitter by tweeting us at back_podcast. For more information, you can go to our website, which is backporchtalkpodcast.com. You can also email us at backporchtalkpodcast@gmail.com. Again, thank you for joining us, and remember that there's enough hate in the world, so go ahead and spread a little love.